Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show.
And now, your hosts of the Card Subject to Change podcast, the For Frequency's Sake Tag Team Champions of the World, the Wizard CZ, and Never Wrong Nick Bull.
Hello, one and all, and welcome back to another exciting edition of the Card Subject to Change podcast. The podcast by the fan, for the fan. Of course, I am one half of the tag team champions here in the For Frequency's Sake network. I am co-host here also on the Card Subject to Change podcast. I am Never Wrong Nick Bull. We're so happy you found us. So happy to join us here on the For Frequency's Sake network. Of course, you are Card Subject to Change. We're here to talk some wrestling, and you can't talk wrestling by yourself. You got to have a partner, and I got one of the best tag team partners in the world, if not the best. The guy who makes this show run. I respect you, Booker, man. He is the one. He is the only. He is the Wizard CZ. Wiz, how are you doing tonight?
Man, I am feeling really good. Before we kick things into gear, I just want to give a shout out to Austin Bayless and Central Empire Wrestling. Zach Takis and I were supposed to do a liver out there yesterday, and we were a little scared of the roads. Not going to Oskaloosa, but how the weather with the wind and the partially covered roads were going to be coming home after dark, after nightfall. So we opted not to go.
Is it fair to say that you realize that Mother Nature, she doesn't job? She don't do jobs.
Yes.
She don't do jobs.
jobs.
You found out the hard way.
As
you were proactive. You were preemptive. You and Zach were both very, very smart about it. Whereas I probably would have been like, okay, I'm going no matter what. But you guys were smart about it for sure. And I mean, winter weather is nothing to mess around about. Not at all.
No, and you said Mother Nature doesn't job. I think Mil Mascara said it best, and I think Mother Nature takes after no job. But no, Austin had a great show last night from everything that I've heard. Had a really good turnout despite the threat of inclement weather. So shout out to our friends over at Central Empire Wrestling, Austin Bayless, Rory Fox, Jared Thumb in the main event last night. I wish I could have been there. I wish I had been there, but they've got another show coming up in May, and I think we'll be pulling the trigger on that one for sure, because May's not going to have a threat of snowfall.
Man, I hope not. If it is, we're in a lot of trouble. No, the independent scene, of course, is really thriving as we broadcast here out of the Midwest. Card Subject to Change is just, right in the heart of the Midwest in the Quad Cities, and we've got independent wrestling galore in our backyard, and props to Central Empire Wrestling, Austin Bayless, friend of the show, for their show they had last night in Oskaloosa, Mall Madness 2. But since you were able to be there for the pre-show podcast party, you were able to watch both shows that we're going to be talking about tonight. If you haven't guessed it by now, this is episode 174 of the Card Subject to Change podcast. Of course, we are powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. So thankful for all those guys for being aboard. Thankful for you being aboard as well. Episode 174, Grand Vengeance. Of course, we're going to talk about Grand Slam Australia and Vengeance Day. You not being able to go out of town was able for you to watch both of those live. I, on the other hand, got back late from a game of my son's, and I watched the one that was taped already, or the one that already happened live. And we'll talk about that in a minute here with Grand Slam. And then I watched NXT late last night, and then finished it as we record here, today on Sunday morning. As we record on Sunday afternoon, I finished it here, Sunday morning. So a lot of wrestling going on, and a lot of wrestling to get to. Enough of us bumbling, stumbling around. let's cut the music. Let's get in the ring and let's get ready for action here. What do we got, CZ?
Man, we might as well start with the show that physically happened first, even though it was on tape delay for us here in the States, and that is Grand Slam down in Australia. 5 matches on the card, which if this had been an actual pay-per-view event, there would have been double that. But this was essentially their replacement for Collision this week. Obviously, there's a 16-hour time difference between us and where the event was held in Australia. So we did not see it live, although Nick and I both talked off the air yesterday and today about how they could have put it on Max as it was airing. People stay up for the Japan shows, for Wrestle Kingdom and all things like that. They definitely could have pulled it off, Nick. But no, 5 matches on the card and five decent matches looking at what was there. A couple tag matches, a few title matches sprinkled in. What are your initial thoughts on the card looking at what was coming up for Grand Slam?
I'm going to take your question and press pause because I will talk about the card in a second, because the card will be the ending of what my first take is going to be.
Okay.
I think this show was initially pitched, maybe sold and believed to have been a bigger venued show. I believe this was supposed to be outside on the soccer pitch in an Aussie stadium somewhere. And when ticket sales weren't good, they had to move it to a lower venue. Not knocking anybody here. I'm just stating facts. A couple days before the show or the day of the show, fans are irate in Australia because the people who got the tickets right away didn't have access to the best seats. They put up better seats for sale right towards the show, and people were able to just come in, scoop, and get them. I would be upset if I had invested that much money as a fan and was told I had a seat, like a premium seat that I paid for, and then someone or, an option I didn't have to pay for that seat wasn't there when I was. I'd be a little upset too. I think initially the show was supposed to be bigger than what it was expected. I think this was supposed to be a pay-per-view initially. Maybe they soon found out it wasn't going to be and didn't want to say it publicly. I think it was intended to be a pay-per-view. Low ticket sales, maybe production costs. We'll find out later that the wrong ring was being used. We'll get to that in a second. But I think for what they initially had planned and what it became, this card really delivered. And that's why I think that these matches are all very strong. These matches are all very good for this card, how the show played out. And I think AEW made something good happen out of something that was misfortunate and really bad that happened to them. They took something good from the bad and moved on and put on a good show. But I thought the card was strong. They had to have the local flavor on the show.
Yep.
Which they did. And it featured in most matches. So I get that. Crowd was great. Crowd was hot. And with that card, I was kind of shocked with what they kicked the show off with, but they wanted to set the tone, and here they kick off a show with a tag team match with four of today's brightest stars, at least in AEW, in the wrestling world. Kenny Omega is a given, okay? Will Ospreay is approaching that status, okay? And then you've got Konosuke Takeshita holding titles in 2 separate companies, respected companies, AEW and New Japan Pro Wrestling. And then you got Kyle Fletcher, who's probably the young upstart of them all. A little bit of backstory with Don Callis family, of course. I thought this has been done and build up well. The promos have been good on TV. I think anytime Don Callis is involved with something and is able to be a voice, they're putting guys with him maybe that aren't good with promos or whatnot. I really like Don Callis, and it was funny that we were talking about Dynamite the other night with Don Callis or something, and then I texted you. Might have texted you later that night, and I was watching TNA, and I think I texted you a match. It was Don Callis and somebody.
Oh, I vaguely remember. I can't remember who you said it was with, but I remember the text.
And Don Callis won, but it was Don Callis with Scott Stapp hair from Creed. So Callis looks a lot different with the hair grown out, a little bit longer than what mine was. But regardless, just getting off on a Don Callis tangent there. But I really thought they put a decent card together. I guess I was expecting a few more matches. I didn't know this was just going to be. I'm in the persuasion of fans that did not know that this was going to be a substitute, the NutraSweet, if you will, for Collision. I did not know that. I knew that'd get a chuckle out of you. I was waiting for you to laugh about that one, but I did not know that this was going to be Collision Light. I did not know that until last night when I go into Max and I go in there just like you. I think I texted you. I'm like, did you click on this, and this? You go in to click on the thumbnail of the Grand Slam show, and it takes you to a Collision menu, and you're like, what?
Yeah.
So it was kind of confusing. I wish maybe I needed to pay better attention to what they say on TV. Maybe they did say this was going to be a substitute for Collision, and I never heard it and just kind of assumed it was going to be a little bit bigger show.
I don't know that they said anything on TV that I can remember specifically, but I know that there was some internet buzz where at one point in the last week, TK came on and said this was never intended to be a pay-per-view. I don't know if that's backpedaling because they had to change the venue, or if it legit was not supposed to be a big pay-per-view event. But if they were planning on having it in that giant stadium, then it absolutely, in my opinion, was planned as a pay-per-view. That's how I envision it. But I'm not Tony Khan. I'm not an EVP of AEW, so I can't make those calls. I can't say 100%.
I after I find all this stuff out, like in my mind, I'm treating this like a Clash of the Champions back in WCW days.
Okay.
Kind of what I'm treating it as. Even though, there were some, how many title matches were on the show? There were 2 title matches?
2.
2 of the 5 were title matches. Okay. So not every Clash of the Champions was every belt defended. So I'm fine with that.
No, 3. 3 title matches. Okada defended the Continental.
Okay. Yep. I was counting 2. So 3 of the 5 we get title matches. So you're getting titles up for grabs, which is good. Your expectations or hopes are lowered because you don't think there's going to be a title change, right? On these kind of shows. There's a caveat to that, and we'll get to that later. When we talk about this show, bring it up. I want you to remind me what I said, but we'll get to that. I'm assuming you want to talk about the match that started the show to kick it off.
Go in whatever order you feel like.
It does not matter to me. Noticeably, I read about this show. I stayed spoiler free from both shows. Okay, the only match I knew about was the main event. That's the only match I knew about, a main event of Grand Slam. That's the only one I knew about. Anything else I didn't know. So I want to pat myself on the back for avoiding social media and trying to watch wrestling and still have a surprise. The ring for me was a big, it was a problem at first. And then we were talking with our friend. I was talking with our friend, and you were too, and you're in the text group with Tim Regal. And I just wondered how much it would throw off the wrestlers from usually who work in a 20x20 or an 18x18, and then go down to a 16x16. And then I thought, Rob, a little bit, like, it's not that big of a deal, people. You guys are pros. they've worked in every size ring there is. Most of them have, if not all of them, at some point in their life. So that ring thing's not really a big deal to me. I'll tell you where I noticed it is on the outside of the ring and how much room they had. Like there was plenty of room to do stuff on the outside. So that was a positive. And I really, at first the ring kind of threw me off, but it didn't ruin the show. I mean, so I'll call out and bag on AEW when I can or whenever, but that didn't bother me in the slightest after the show started. And the tag match was something else, man, to start the show. Konosuke Takeshita is my favorite wrestler to watch in AEW. And then you throw in those other three guys, a hot crowd, Kenny Omega and Will Ospreay working together after they've been foes for all these years. Fletcher just trying to prove to, I think what AEW is doing, this is smart with what they're doing. I mean, they're got him in there with the high profile guys. They want to make this guy a bigger star. They're investing time into him. They're doing that. And look who he's working with. I always say, look who they're working with. Who's so-and-so working with? That's going to tell you something. Look who he's working with. He's working with, future world champ, current world, former world champs, future world champs. And he's going to be on that level with them before too long. So 4 big stars in this match. This match was it was what I expected. Maybe exceeded my expectations in places. But this match was good. It was a fun tag match. Not 2 legit tag teams, but 4 guys, 2 different, that part was good. It was really good. I don't know if it's my match of the night on this show, though. I don't know if it's my match of the night.
It wasn't mine. We'll get to that in a little bit.
I think yours and mine will probably be the same, but I really enjoyed this opener. I loved the hidden blade, one-winged angel combo finisher.
That was fantastic.
That was innovative. Like, come on. People have been dreaming of or wanting to see those guys tag and do that. I've never seen that before. How cool is that? So it was cool to see. I mean, I don't want to call it a throwaway show, but when it's not a pay-per-view, it's kind of like in the Clash of the Champions realm. Like it's a TV special. It's not a pay-per-view. So, but I like the opener. What do you think?
I enjoyed it. I thought it was a lot of fun. You've got 4 people who worked really well together. Obviously, Omega and Ospreay have history, so they know each other well, having been opponents for so long that they would. You'd have to think, having been opponents and worked together as much as they did, they'd make a good tag team. Watching this match, I completely agree. Kyle Fletcher is a future star. Konosuke Takeshita, if he's not holding a world title in the next year, then somebody's wasted him. But my worry with AEW, and I don't want to rag and rail on them, I want to focus on the positives because this was a really good show. This was a really good match. They're putting Kyle Fletcher in these high-pressure situations with these huge stars, with the mega stars that they offer. I don't want to see him get swept under the rug like so many other people in AEW have who have been put in high caliber situations.
It remains to be seen. It really does. I mean, I think that's the bugaboo that everybody doesn't want to see. You said the part out loud that nobody else wants to say, and that's true. That's very true in my opinion. But I don't know. This just feels different. It feels different. This was a guy who was a tag team wrestler. His partner had to have surgery and be out for a time, I believe, on his arm or his wrist, one of the two. Mm-hmm. So what do? You got to still pay the bills, right? You got to still work. So they invested a lot of time, energy, thought, planning, expectations into this guy. And, this guy may be the breakout star of 2025. You could say 2024 was, but I think until he kind of wins a title, gets that first taste of a title, of a title that matters over there,
But they all matter, Nick.
The sky's the limit. Well, they all probably do matter to some respect. I'm not trying to poo, but I don't want to see the whatever title. I want him to have a legit title in that company and watch him from there.
Yes, I completely agree. I think he's going to get one sooner than later. You'll see him carrying some gold in AEW. Hopefully it's one of the more prestigious ones, or he can put some prestige back on it if it's not. He is, they refer to him as the proto star, and he really is. He's an up and coming, he's a rising star, and he's going to do big things, whether it be in AEW or whether it be beyond AEW. I look to see him break out huge coming real soon.
I agree with you. I agree.
Now, I don't mean to suck the air out of the room, Nick, but your favorite wrestler, your favorite girl is up next.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. This has had my interest in AEW when I'm watching their television. Who knew Harley Cameron could be this good?
Right?
Not really known for her ring work, but they've given her an opportunity. She's obviously very talented. I knew that she could sing. I know she plays some different instruments, but now she's a ventriloquist, and she's essentially made her puppet is more over than Mercedes Moné.
I was just going to ask that question if you thought so. I'd think
Absolutely,
so.
Dude. That whenever that puppet comes on, the crowd goes nuts because they know there's going to be a promo. And her promos with Renee Young backstage and her and the puppet, and even when Monet was in it, they've been good. That's what's made this. Wasn't watching this match for chin locks and reverses.
No,
I was watching this match because they really told a good story with the vignettes and with their backstage stuff. This was done very well by them, by AEW, setting it up this way. You've got Mercedes Moné, this worldwide known star, won titles everywhere she's went, yada, 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 like her or not. You got Harley Cameron, who really is trying to make a name for herself. This feud, she made a name for herself. She came out on the short end of the title or of the match, and I know a lot of fans were upset with that. They thought that she should have gotten it because isn't she from Australia?
I'd have to double check that.
I didn't know I can't remember. Anyways,
I'll find out in just a second.
Or New Zealand.
She is 100%. I think there was someone from Australia in almost every single match.
Okay. Crowd behind her. Hey, maybe you do a hot shot at title offer. Maybe she drops it in a couple weeks back on TV. They did not, obviously, but this feud, the lead up, the brilliant, comical, funny, well done segments with Harley Cameron and the puppet are gonna what she's known for now, and that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. It's a job well done. This match was better than I thought it was going to be. I'm not throwing the stars out or anything on this match.
Right.
But I didn't think Mercedes was going to drop the title at any moment in this match. I thought it was a sure thing, slam dunk, that she was going to retain, and which she did. But still, good job. Props to AEW for getting new talent on a show, a home, in their home country. Good job on making her look good. Good job on giving her time to get over with this thing backstage and be creative. So I thought it was a job well done. And you know what? I mean, she's known now. So now it's time for her to take. She's taken every chance she's gotten so far and done her best with it. Time to start making bigger strides now.
Yes. I will give credit where credit is due. AEW has come a long way in recent months than where they were at telling stories. Not just telling stories, but making sure that lesser known talents or talents that are floating around the mid-card are getting highlighted more. Harley Cameron is a prime example. I'll give you another example. I don't like him both as a I don't like him because not just because he's a heel right now, but I don't care. He's does a bunch of flippy stuff normally, but look at what they've done with Ricochet and how they built him into the heel that he is over the last couple of months. They really are doing a good job right now with building characters more so than they have in the past, in my opinion.
Yeah, it seems that they are. It seems that some things are working, and hopefully they continue to work. I mean, I want both, AEW and WWE to be successful. I want them both to be good. So
I just hope both teams have fun.
It forces the other person to be better. That's what we want as wrestling fans,
right?
We don't want to get on here and pan on shows, but I'm going to tell you, I mean, we'll point out the bad things we didn't like, but for the most part, enjoyed what I watched with this show. Finding out late that it wasn't. I was shocked when I woke up on Saturday morning. Not the sidebar here. And I seen a spoiler for this show. I was under the assumption it was going to be live here. My ignorance for not knowing the time difference. My ignorance for not doing the research myself, just assumed it was going to stream live on Max, and that would be it. Avoided spoilers all day on Friday or on Saturday and was able to watch it last night. But I was shocked. Like, I texted you. I'm like, dude, what Twilight Zone am I in? Like, did this show already happen or not? Am I gaslighting myself?
So we go from there to another tag match. 2 tag matches on the card, which is cool for you. I know you're the big tag team guy, so seeing 2 tag team matches on a 5-match card has got to be thrilling for you. However, let me preface this here. What were your thoughts on the Brisbane Brawl stipulation?
Enlighten me.
So essentially, and I'll pull it up here. Essentially, it's a street fight. It's a 2-team street fight. It's hardcore wrestling. I clicked on the Brisbane Brawl on Wiki, where I'm at right now, and it says it takes me to hardcore based variations. So call a spade, it's a street fight.
Yep. It's not a Walcott street fight, though.
No, and it's not a bluegrass street fight either.
No. Look, I figured with this match, it's a wild brawl for the crowd. You've got the home. I know it's not his home country, but New Zealand is very nearby. So Jay White's in this match.
Yes.
Hometown fandom for him. Of course, you got, Adam Cope, whatever you want to call him, Cope. Let's call him Cope. You got Cope there. Fans love him, well known. And then they're taking on, of course, the Death Riders, Kurt Champ, John Moxley, and he chose Claudio Castagnoli. Of course, Wheeler Yuta would show up during this match. And did we see Pac during this match?
I don't remember Pac showing up here. I'd have to go back and rewatch.
I forget. I don't think so. So, but I kind of figured, wild brawl and the faces would get the win here. But I was shocked. Hey, we watched this to be shocked and surprised and to be wrong. And I was wrong. I would have thought the faces would have found a way to win, but that was not the case.
Yeah, I think they wanted to throw us a little bit of a swerve here, in all honesty, because you want to build momentum towards the next big event, which is Revolution coming up in just a couple weeks for the person chasing the title. You want to build their momentum a little bit, and that is Cope. That is Adam Copeland. He has a big title match against Don Moxley. I'm sorry, Mr. Moxley. You can come punch me if you need to, but
I'm pretty sure he doesn't watch this, but man, if he does, that would be really cool.
That would be really cool. I'd definitely pop for that, especially if he hit us up in the comments.
Sure.
But no, Cope has a big title match coming up with Moxley at Revolution, so you would think that they would have the face team win to build that momentum. I kind of wonder. I'm going to put on my booker hat a little bit and do some fantasy booking. I told you this off air. Edge came away with the loss here. Cope came away with the loss here. Sorry. Formerly known as Edge, the artist formerly known. I think that
Moxley chokes him out. And
yeah.
That's.
I think that Cope is going to go over at Revolution. I really do. I think they're building towards that, but I don't think he's going to keep the title very long.
You think it's a Drew McIntyre-esque type reign with the World Heavyweight Championship in WWE is what you're saying?
I think so.
You think there's going to be a little cashing in of a contract the night of Revolution? Is that what you're saying?
I wouldn't mind seeing it at all. I know you've booked this on different cash-in predictions, but with the title being in that briefcase, how ridiculous would it be for Cope to not touch the title before his old running mate Christian comes in and steals it away?
That'd be cool. Like he never got to touch it. Like he never got to celebrate with it. And Christian would drive that point home. Yeah. That automatically becomes the number one reason why I watch that show now is watch what happens with Christian and that. Yeah. Quit Christian and Cope, whatever you want to call him. Whatever you want to call him, that's what you can call him.
The Patriarch.
We're trying to here. We are Card Subject to Change Podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. We're breaking down Grand Slam Australia. We're almost through that. We still have another show to break down. Of course, we're powered by Lopez Pizza, built by Durham Remodeling, colored by Ryan Allison Tattoo, and protected by Jared Zook of Country Financial. Let's get through here with Grand Slam because we got plenty to talk about with the Vengeance Day card.
I'm super excited to talk about the Vengeance Day card. I can't wait. But Kazuchika Okada defending his Continental Championship against hometown boy Buddy Matthews. Buddy Ripley, if you will. But
hey, Buddy one of one. He whatever the hell he wants.
Right? I thought the writing was on the wall for this match as to where the outcome was going to go. However, I had secretly hoped that Buddy would come away with the win in his hometown. Tony Khan is known for giving hometown people the win, especially in a championship match. We'll get to that later. But this is my pick for match of the night. And it's very close second to the main event. I thought the two could go, you could flip-flop them, and I'd be fine. But Okada is brilliant. Buddy Matthews is one of the most underrated stars in AEW right now, and I wish they would do more with him.
Yeah, I hope they do. 0 for 2 on the night for the hometown people trying to go for a title. Yeah, Okada's good. He's special. I know he's not as young as he used to be, but he still has that presence to him, that aura to him that people, tune in and watch his matches and are intrigued by what he does. I thought it was a really good match back and forth. So far, we really haven't had a stinker on this show. Not every match is am I going to go back and you say this is probably my best match of the month or best match of the year? No, I'm not going to say that probably, but I did enjoy this show. It kept my interest and this match was good. It's, you're watching this and you're thinking, man, Buddy Matthews can do this. He's going to do it. Like if they're going to do it, this is the night, right?
Yep.
I wasn't let down. I just kind of figured Okada would still retain here because I had a feeling the title was changing hands in the main event.
Absolutely. And I wasn't let down. I was not surprised. I just was hopeful because I was hopeful that both of these titles would change hands, in all honesty. Because Buddy Matthews deserves, give him his flowers. He is fantastic. But no, the main event, this is another one of those areas where AEW has done a fantastic job of storytelling over the last month or two, or a little bit further.
I mean, yeah, this, I would say, this was kind of the second, this was a newer chapter to this rivalry, where Tony loses her memory and comes back as Tony Storm, and going through her different it was good. It kept interest, and this has really been the best story that AEW's been telling on their programming is this whole thing with Mariah May and Tony Storm, and it's gone full circle. It's good wrestling. Two women who are very accomplished, and with plenty of good years ahead of them. We're going to be talking about these two, I think, for years, with what they're able to do, headlining this event in Brisbane, Australia. Of course, Tony Storm going over and getting the win, becoming the 4th AEW Women's Champion. I wonder how that sits with Britt Baker. I wonder how she likes that. I bet she's not a really big fan of that.
Yeah, I would imagine not. But I don't know, based on rumors and speculations and innuendo that I'm seeing online, I don't know that Britt really cares, because it seems like if the rumors are true, she is on her way out the door.
Yeah, I don't know if she's going to go over to WWE or if she's going to pursue more acting stuff. I know she's a part of Cobra Kai off and on. But I don't know what other opportunities there are for her. But I've seen that flash up on the screen, 4-time AEW Women's Champion. It's like, yeah, she has. She really has. So hats off to Tony. Hats off Mariah May. I thought that was the match of the night, was the women's main event. I really did. I thought it was a really good match. And good of them to profile the talent from down under.
Yes.
Of course, Tony Storm. Of course, Buddy Matthews, Jay White from nearby New Zealand, Harley Cameron. It was cool. It was cool. DB checking in. How you doing, DB? We love you, man. We hope all is well. DB says he enjoyed Grand Slam. Good show. Lots of home country talent. I agree. Every time now I see Jay White on my screen, I think of DB. I'm like, that's DB's guy in AEW. And I love Jay White. I love that he's being featured more. I love that he's kind of aligned himself with Cope and with FTR in this battle over AEW between the Death Riders. But any last second thoughts here on AEW before we traverse over to the WWE side of things with Vengeance Day?
Not really. I think I'll just end it with this. This was a solid card. This was a good show. Kudos to AEW for putting on a really good event outside the country. And I'll give DB credit again. Chiming in Jay White for AEW champ in 2025. I'd like to see it happen. I hope it does. Of course, DB, a good friend of the podcast. You can catch him on the Sit Down Marks podcast. Another great show to watch when you're not watching us. Watch out first. No offense, Stevie. But yeah, we're gonna slide over to Vengeance Day here in just a minute. But Nick, it's the off season for that other thing the network does. That sports ball game.
Yeah, it is. This is the first weekend without football in quite some time. So those guys are dealing with probably seasonal depression. They're dealing with withdrawal symptoms.
Yep.
But hey, There is no off season of wrestling. We're here. We're still here. We're still talking. They're still putting out shows. They're putting out 2 shows on one night. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to have time to watch both these shows before we do our show. Thankfully, I did. And thankfully, it was 2 excellent shows, to be honest with you. And, yeah, Vengeance Day was something else, man.
Yeah, we'll talk about that in a minute. Let's take a little bit of a breather. Normally we would pay dues to the other shows on the network, but since we are in the off season, we're going to give a little highlight to our sponsor, our main sponsor of Card Subject to Change, and that's Lopez Pizza. Stay with us here. Vengeance Day on the other side of the break. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for the largest slice in the Quad Cities? The right spot is Lopez Pizza. It's better than a hot dog and a handshake. They have 2 great locations, uptown on Brady for your delivery and catering needs, and downtown at 429 East 3rd Street in Davenport for the full experience. Lopez is family-owned and family-friendly. Into wrestling like us, you can catch shows every day and twice on Sunday at their downtown location. Who knows, you may run into a local wrestler or a local podcaster or 2 while you're there. Stop by each month for a different featured slice by various artists. Lopez Pizza, a proud sponsor of the Card Subject to Change podcast on the For Frequency's Sake podcast network.
Welcome back to the show.
Welcome back to the show. We are Card Subject to Change, podcast by the fan for the fan. He is the Wizard CZ. I am never wrong, Nick Bull. We just broke down for you AEW Grand Slam Australia, and now I think we have some NXT business to tend to, CZ.
We do, man. And this weekend, talk about putting out some good content for wrestling fans. It is a absolutely great time to be a wrestling fan, and Vengeance Day, I know NXT for you is absolutely must-watch TV. I'm right there, but not as much watch as you. I know you're a diehard, but NXT is a brilliantly great brand. There's a lot of fantastic talent, and this was a showcase of that talent all around. We've got title matches galore. We've got triple threats, fatal 4-ways, a strap match. So what more can you ask for in a show, Nick?
And there's a lot of good talent on this card. The best women's division in wrestling. And they showcase that here tonight. And I'll talk about that here. Or they showcased it there last night. We'll talk about it here tonight. Their women's division is untouchable, in my opinion. And then when you have a star like Bayley, who made a name for herself in NXT, who comes down and is a part of the fatal 4-way match for the NXT Women's Championship, it just adds a little more to the show. It just means a little bit more. Yes. And it tells you a lot about who Bayley is. I really would like to know how some of these stars, and I'm talking the main roster stars, how they treat being sent down to work in NXT, because I think Bayley is the prime example of why it's good. Bayley's well respected,
Can I give you my opinion on that?
What's that?
Can I give you my opinion real quick on that?
Yeah, I want to hear it, because I think it's brilliant when they send people down. And it's not. I hate when you say down like it's a demotion, but I don't know. My favorite Baron Corbin was the Baron Corbin that was in NXT after he got quote unquote moved from the main roster. So I mean, there's a lot of good stuff that can happen, and I think there is when these main roster stars come down.
And I don't think send down is the right terminology.
I know it, but
see, for especially you look at someone like Bayley, I think this is her giving back to the future.
Bingo.
This is her saying, okay, I'm not going to be here forever. Let's build up some of these other great talents by going down and helping them out and helping them get over. And, we're talking about Bayley. We might as well just start and talk about that main event since we're already there. Card subject to change. We can do whatever we want, go with recovery, whatever match we want. But
agreed.
you have 4 incredibly talented women in Julia, Bailey, Roxanne Perez, and Cora Jade. And Nick, I'm just going to throw this out there. Is this Roxanne's last moment for the time being in NXT?
I don't know. I know there's the urge to put her up on the main roster after how well she did in the Royal Rumble. But man, I think there's more intriguing matchups for her here on this roster, on the NXT roster, than there is up on the main card. I really do. Like her and Julia, now that she's signed, her and Stephanie Vaquer.
Her and Cora, since they're now at odds.
I know everybody wants her to go up on the main roster, but selfishly as an NXT fan, like she's one of the reasons I tune in on a Tuesday night. She's been great lately. So yes. I hope she stays because I think there's plenty of good matchups left there for her. But
even if she
gets called up, good for her. That's great. I mean, I'll watch her on whatever show.
Called up. Should she get that call up, she has a ready-made feud going into WrestleMania for her, and that is with Bailey.
Sure.
So this could be her call.
You talk about WrestleMania, like, okay, I like how you said that. Like, she's got a ready-made feud for WrestleMania. So it's WrestleMania weekend. Where do you think Roxanne Perez is more likely to be on? NXT Stand and Deliver or WrestleMania?
That is a great question. If it were me, if I were pulling the trigger on where to put her, I say this is her last stand. Stand and Deliver is her last stand in NXT. And then call her up after Mania.
Yep.
Build the feud that is already made in NXT with Cora Jade. There's tension there. It's got some legs to it, and it's a good story. That's her match at Stand and Deliver, in my opinion.
Okay.
And then she shows up maybe Monday after WrestleMania. The craziest Monday Night Raw of the year.
Right.
But
I think she is more valuable to NXT right now, and I think they'll keep her on this run to WrestleMania, and then I think she debuts. I mean, she'd be if we talk about this down the road to WrestleMania, who's going to show up on that night after? That would be one of the names on my list right now. Is that she gets called up? She gets the call on the Raw after WrestleMania.
I agree. I think that would be the right call to make. And kudos to not only all the women in this match, but Julia for putting on hell of a show, retaining her title in the 4-way. Obviously, everybody knows a fatal 4-way. It's hard to retain your title in. You've got a 25% chance. And I'm going to transition into the next match that I want to talk about by saying they bookended the show really well. Because at the end of the night, you have Julia and Stephanie Vaquer holding their titles high in the middle of the ring.
By the way, I think Stephanie Vaquer is the best wrestler on that roster right now.
I don't disagree.
Female wrestler.
I can make a good argument for that. Absolutely. But Julia,
when I'm watching her match, and I'll get back to what you're saying. I was watching her match and I'm like, she's the best female wrestler on this roster, and she's not even the main event. Like, that's how good this NXT women's roster is. That's how loaded it is.
But she may not be in the main event, but she's in the next best thing to the main event, and that is opening the damn show. Her and Fallon Henley. You kind of see where this was going to go. I went into this match not being 100% sure who was going to win, but being pretty sure how it was going to end. But all the shenanigans with Jasmine Nix and JC Jane, and then Vaquer getting her win against Fallon for the quote unquote secondary title in NXT for the women, the North American Championship. I thought this was a good opener.
I want you to go back to the moment you were going to talk about before I interrupted you.
Yes. Big moment at the end of the night.
Because
Huge.
we have Julia retained, correct?
Mm-hmm.
We have Vakur become the new North American Women's Champion. 2 semi-recent signees for NXT, right?
Right.
And now you got titles on them. And now what do you do with what happens next?
Well, of course, the obvious answer is you bring in the newest female signing into NXT, the juggernaut, Jordynne Grace, and you have them all stare each other down. This moment sent chills through me. This was a fantastic way to end the night, with Grace making her official NXT debut after making her overall debut in the Rumble. She's in the right place. She's going to have a feud with one of those women. I'm leaning towards Julia more than Vaquer, but we'll see what happens. It's up in the air. This can go either way.
Yeah, it was a really cool. I thought it was a really cool ending to the show. They bookend the show. They have that moment where they're both standing in the ring with their titles, and then that moment with Jordynne Grace. Like, that was cool. That's NXT. That's NXT right there. They're so strong. Their women's division got stronger. The best women's division got better. That's what that's like my takeaway from Vengeance Day. The best women's division in wrestling got significantly better. Like, they're loaded, dude. They're loaded. Maybe Roxanne Perez is on her way to Raw. They're loaded, man. Look at what they have. Loaded.
And there's so many names who weren't on this card that can give a lot of credit to. Like, look at Jada Parker, for one.
Lola Vice.
Yes.
Sol
Ruka. Carmen Petrovic is starting to come into her own. There are so many talented women on this NXT roster that it's, for lack of a better term, it's a crapshoot as to who you're going to get where. But that's not a bad thing. It's not a bad crapshoot.
It's not. You didn't mention Gigi Dolan, one of your favorites.
I didn't, but I see her more now as kind of taking on a mentorship role than a big time player role.
Right.
If that makes sense.
No, but I mean, they have an embarrassment of riches right now, and we are going to benefit from it. Like, I can't wait. I don't know when the next takeover going to be. Stand and Deliver. I'm guessing that's what they're probably building towards now.
Stand and Deliver is the next takeover.
Okay.
There is one televised special in Roadblock coming up in a few weeks.
Okay. That's going to be after Roadblock. I mean, I'm not saying like from now to Roadblock won't be interesting, but like Roadblock on will be great because we'll probably start getting matches, matches pitched, matches, storylines and whatnot. So looking forward to it. Yeah, both these women's matches were good. But during that Stephanie Vacour match, where she defeated Fallon Henley, despite JC Jane doing what she could to interfere there towards the end, I honestly thought, I'm like, you know what, she's the best women's wrestler they have right now. And it's not a knock on anybody else. They're so loaded. Like, I think she's the best talent they have in that women's division. And, you can't get the title off Julia right now, but you can sure put the secondary title on her. And I thought for sure that Vacour was going to win and really take off with whatever's going to happen next with her.
100%. I can't wait to see where we go from here. I'm going to put it to you. I kind of picked the first two places we started on Vengeance Day. Where do you want to go next? I have an inkling as to where you're going to want to go, but what do you want to talk about next?
You know what? I want to talk about the triple threat men's match.
Okay.
For the Oba Femi's NXT title. Okay. I want to talk about this because we talked about wrestlers being sent from the main roster to NXT. I was excited when Grayson Waller and Austin Theory came back. And everybody was kind of cringeworthy, maybe like, oh, why? I want to see these guys, what they can do. Now we're going to see them in a main storyline, which we did. And we're going to see if, they got something they can take back with them better, make them better than they were before to the main roster. So I was kind of looking forward to this match. I like how it took a turn in the recent weeks where there's dissension maybe in the ranks between Theory and Waller.
Turn on Grayson.
Yeah.
Turn on Grayson.
So that's been interesting to see. And knowing that they're going to go in there with Oba Femi and watching Oba Femi, the possibility of him throwing those two dudes around, like, I was excited for that. And all that together, and we got a really fun championship match where, we could see what Waller and Thompson are capable of doing, and we see what Oba Femi, what he's going to be doing in a few years on the main card. Like, this guy's special.
And I'll give a little spoiler here. I usually write my weekly article for the Substack after we do the show, depending on how I feel. It's already in the can, and it was inspired by this match. I want you to see if you can guess as to what I might be talking about. I'll give you a hint. A big focus is on Austin Theory.
Man, dead air is a bad thing, but I don't know.
All right. So I'm just going to lay this out there. It's my hot take of the night. Austin Theory is one of the best sellers in wrestling today.
Okay.
I mean, go back to WrestleMania 38. Watch him take the Stone Cold Stunner on night 2. Watch him take Grayson Waller's rolling cutter on Vengeance Day this year. The man knows how to sell a big move getting hit on him. And that's where my article is going to focus on selling, not just the moves, but some of the expressions that you see. Stay tuned on Thursday. That'll come out around 9 a.m. But
well, in the business, they call that a cross promotion plug.
Right.
Yeah, there you go. There you go.
But no, watch Austin Theory in the ring as he sells the moves he's getting hit with. I don't know that I can name somebody better of his generation that's out there doing it right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope there's something for him when he goes back to the main roster. He shows that he can. Both these guys showed in this match with Oba Femi. That's why I really was looking forward to this show. I mean, I'm probably going to go back and watch this show again, probably after we get done recording this show. Will I watch every match? Maybe. Will I go back and watch my favorite match of the show? Yes. We haven't talked about it yet.
I know.
You know what it's going to be, you freaking Mark. No.
Wait, who's the Mark?
Both of us, you know that.
That's correct.
I'm the tag team Mark, though. So, the show was fun. I can't say it enough. Like, I hold NXT as a special place in my heart. Like, I really I've gone back last couple weeks and watched some old takeovers. I just love the vibe of what the show's always been. There was a little bit of time there when it was the rainbow color, all the, the bright colors of NXT. I didn't like that era, but
paint splatter NXT.
Paint splatter NXT, but we've come back from that. And I think NXT right now it's on a projection to be better than it was at its best. So, and I think, they took another step forward with this pay-per-view or this PLE, whatever you want to call it. It was on Peacock. Yeah. It was good. It was good. And this match was really good.
I agree. This was probably my favorite match on the card just because it was well put together. You didn't know if one of the A-Town Down Under boys was going to turn on the other. And the way that it ended with Waller hitting that stunner or that cutter or whatever on Theory. Can't wait to see what happens next.
Yeah, that's why you tune in.
Now, before we get to your favorite match, I want to kind of blend the next two together, and there's a reason I want to do that. So we'll talk about the strap match first. You got Eddie Thorpe against Trick Williams. And when I hear strap,
oh yeah, dude, that's all I listen. I got a confession to make. That's all I listen for when Trick comes out. Like, I love Trick. I love his theme. I love how it's interactive and the fans love it. But I'm so just listening to Booker T and what he has to say. Oh yeah. Oh, say it with me. It's so good.
But I came into this match expecting more. And here's why. You look at a strap match, you think of a strap match, and you think it's going to be brutal. And it was to an extent, but the match that came after, I thought was way more brutal in the way it came off than the strap match.
Yeah. I can agree with that assessment. Yeah, I wasn't looking for blood here.
No, I wasn't looking for blood, but I was looking for a little more brutality.
Done a pretty good job of making it known they don't like each other. Taking each other out backstage. Strap match is, they can't be too far apart. They're always going to be close to each other. That's the draw of the match. And then there's no rules. Everything goes. And it's a way to have a no DQ match to keep guys close. And this match, it was brutal, but you're right. The other match we're going to intertwine with this was a little more brutal, like took it to the next level type of brutality. And I liked the strap match. And
I'm not dogging the strap match. I thought it was a good match.
Did you hear the crowd's reaction when Eddie Thorpe got the 3? Like,
oh man!
Like there was an audible what? Like, hey, that's why we watch wrestling. That's why we watch wrestling. If we knew the results of every match, it would suck, and we, as wrestling fans, would find something else to bitch about. Yep. That's why it's awesome. We did not nobody thought that was it. Nobody thought that was the end. Like, genuine shock on people's faces. Now, I know it's not Undertaker losing the streak to Brock Lesnar shock, but it's a good kind of shock. That's what makes wrestling fun. And that's why I love the ending of this match and how it ended and the fallout afterwards.
Yes, 100%. But yeah, it was a good strap match. I'm not trying to poo-poo on it at all. Trick is coming into his own. Eddie Thorpe is now, I think, a made man in NXT by defeating a former NXT champion. Just my opinion. I think he solidified himself on the roster, and I can't wait to see what he does next. But no, you look at the next match, just the story and the build between Ethan Page and Javon Evans. It's already brutal enough. And then Page breaking his nose, the blood, and then the final shot of the match where you see his mouth guard fly out, and then at the end you see Javon Evans laying there coughing up blood. Wow.
after Page broke his jaw and this thing took off, and now you're getting this different version of all ego Ethan Page, who's going to fall in line with Ava, who's The Rock's daughter. They had that confrontation on NXT. You know, Rock doing that with Ethan Page, dude. He's a made man, right? He's made on that roster. He's good. He is great at what he's doing. Since he's come over, he's more compelling than anything he ever did in AEW. And that's not a diss at AEW. He's just, they're tapped into him, and they're finding something in him, and he's doing it. I know he had a good run in TNA with Josh Alexander as the tag team of the North, but he's out on his own now. And I thought the brutality of this match, come on. Were you shocked by the ending of this match? I think everybody believed Javon Evans was going to be able to get some revenge.
Yeah.
But there was some genuine, after Ethan Page won. Like, I thought that was the second moment of the night where the fans were shocked. Not as shocked. They were shocked, but not like they were when Eddie Thorpe beat Trick Williams.
Right. So let me ask you this. Where, we've compared, we've kind of talked about both these matches. Trick Williams can come away from the loss and still be strong.
Oh, for sure. For sure.
Where does Javon Evans go from here?
Page thing ain't over. It's not over. He's gonna come back and extract his revenge on Ethan Page at some point, probably sooner rather than later.
Do they have their
maybe their blow off and stand and deliver?
Stand and deliver, yeah.
Maybe it is. That'd be fun. I like watching those two guys work. I love this match a lot because of the brutality of it.
If I'm going to go back and watch a match, that's the one I'm going to watch first.
That's the one you're going to watch first?
Just because of the brutality and the way the match was put together.
Okay.
But what I'm going to do now, Nick, I'm going to sit back and I'm going to let you gush.
No, I want you to talk about it because I'm probably going to say a lot of things, but I want to hear what you have to say about it. Talk about the lead up to it. I want you to go first on this one.
Okay, fair enough. So I will be perfectly honest. I texted you before the show and I was like, who in the hell is Yoshiki Inamura? I believe that's how you pronounce his name. Who in the hell is this guy? I know Josh Briggs, but I had no clue. Inamura.
Yep.
Thank you. I haven't been following NXT as closely. I've missed segments where they've been together, so I had no clue about this guy. But they came in headstrong, and I think Fraxium will give a title shot to anybody who wants it. But at the same time, you look at those two, and who can stop their momentum?
They've been on a heater. They've been on an incredible run. And I asked myself as a tag team fan, do you keep them together or do you break them up? Because I think this is a situation where I don't know if they're a long-standing tag team. I don't know if they got the call up, if their tag team would be like this at Raw or be like this on SmackDown. I think they're together right now because they know it's probably best for them. At the same time, you only knew these guys before for what they did in the ring. This title reign and this run that they're on is really giving them a chance to develop their character in their interviews, their backstage stuff. I can't remember who said it on the broadcast, if it was Vic or if it was Corey. These guys are at their best when they're pissed off at each other. So they didn't know how they would be going into this because they've been getting along. So you have that going on. That's a good dynamic with those two guys. An unconventional tag team, two guys that were singles that they put together. Same with the other side, with Briggs and Inamura. Inamuri, excuse me. I'm still trying to learn his name. But this was my favorite match of the night. Like,
Mark.
Fraxium is really good right now. We're seeing some really cool stuff out of them. And I thought we saw some really cool stuff from Josh Briggs and Yoshiki Inamura. I thought we saw some innovative stuff from them. Styles make fights. You have the high-flying side of Fraxium, and then you've got this brawler Japanese strong style type from Briggs and Inamura. So this was my match of the night. I know, tag team match, right? But to me, this was the best match, not only on this card
of the weekend.
It was my favorite match of the weekend. It really was. And I went back and looked, it was only like 10:27. So, and at the time, I remember thinking, man, that match was short, but it was so good. They packed a lot into it. And for me, it was my favorite. It was my favorite match. And I would love to see Fraxium and Brooks and Inamura go again. I hope they go again. Maybe it's at Roadblock. I don't know, but I don't know. Like, when does Fraxium end? When do you end this run? Because
and they've teased it so much off and on. I don't know how you even end this run, let alone when.
I mean,
like you said, they work better when they're pissed off at each other.
They do. Like, they're on a heater. They're on a heater. I don't want it to stop, but when it ends, it's going to be, then they're going to go their separate ways. I don't know, man. They're so fun to watch. They're so fun to watch, and this feels organic. It doesn't feel like something they're shoving down our throats. It feels like something that the fans have all like behind.
Yes.
And I feel like if you don't like Fraser and you don't like Axiom as wrestlers, or you like root for this team though, because the team is so good. So definitely a bright spot on the NXT roster. Definitely a bright spot of this Vengeance Day show. This was my favorite match of the night and of the weekend.
Would you go as far as to say it's your favorite match of the month so far? Keep in mind, Royal Rumble was on February 1st.
Probably not. But yeah, it's up there. It's up there. I mean, I think they're seriously flirting with tag team of the month. I think Fraxium is on a better run right now than the War Raiders, and they're the champs on Raw, then DIY on SmackDown. The Hurt Syndicate, man, they're pretty good too. But this might be Axiom's month for tag team of the month. They're special. Or Fraxium, excuse me.
They've got something about them. They've got that it factor that you just can't put your finger on.
I got to get my finger on the remote here in a little bit and go back and watch that match.
Yes, you do. Any before we wrap things up, Nick, any final thoughts for you on Vengeance Day?
Another good show from NXT. Great show from NXT, great show from AEW this weekend. Despite the confusion of when it was going to air, if it was going to be live or not, both shows were very good. If you're talking about in-match work and the matches that we saw this weekend, there wasn't really a bad match between the two shows.
Right.
And that's a credit to the wrestlers. What's going on? That's a credit to the writing. That's a credit to everything coming together. And it's what a time to be a wrestling fan. And I thought this weekend was great. We're in the midst of winter. It's cold out, nothing else to do. Watch wrestling. And we got two shows in the same weekend on the same day, essentially. And we get good wrestling to talk about. So it was a win-win for all parties involved.
Absolutely. And, you know, I'll just say this. NXT is destination television right now. If you're not watching NXT, you should. And that goes for me too, because I don't follow it as closely as you do, Nick, and I need to follow it more. But best women's division in the business right now, some great athletes on the men's side, and some fantastic tag teams and tag team matches going on. And that's not to poo-poo on AEW. They did a tremendous job this weekend as well, despite some bumps in the road going into Grand Slam Australia. They pulled off a hell of a show.
And we just pulled off a hell of a show.
We did.
And we're glad that you were here with us. We're Card Subject to Change podcast, the podcast by the fan for the fan. Of course, we couldn't do this without our friends from Lopez Pizza, Durham Remodeling, Ryan Allison Tattoo, and Jared Zook of Country Financial. We're so thankful for all those that are along. Man, wrestling's great. We've got a full week ahead. We have the Kickout coming midweek.
Yep. We'll be back with the Kickout this week. Stay tuned for that. That's going to be fun. And I have an announcement to make before we completely wrap up, Nick. I'm going to preface it this way. So 2023, I was starting to get healthy. I was walking more, being more active, maybe not eating better quite yet. And I kind of fizzled out. And part of that, I don't want to lay blame because I fizzled out. It's 100% my fault. But I had an accountability partner that wasn't really helping, if that makes sense. I think I found somebody who is putting in the work and is going to be accountable. And we are going to be starting a new monthly feature on the For Frequency's Sake podcast network. Talking about our good friend from Shotgun Wrestling Radio, Mr. Zach Takis. We are starting Wrestling with Fitness, a monthly accountability podcast. We're going to talk about our fitness journeys, what we're doing, how we're doing it, and just share stories, you know, and of course, keeping it wrestling themed. Got to have the word wrestling in the title, right, Nick?
I see you didn't go with my selection of wrestling with fitness.
Maybe there's time for a name change. Maybe. I'll give it some thought. I'll give it some serious thought.
Oh no, you know what? You're doing a great job. You've been keeping yourself accountable here. You're well on your way. And I think having Zach along and Zach's, I'm friends with Zach on social media. He checks in all the time. So I think it's gonna be a good thing for the both of you. And I'm interested and I'm looking forward to seeing what you two can do.
Yeah. So we'll be doing that once a month, probably live. Zach and I are still kind of ironing out the details, but stay tuned to socials for more on when that's going to premiere. Wrestling with Fitness, a joint production of For Frequency's Sake Network, Card Subject to Change, and Shotgun Wrestling Radio. I'm super excited and I'm stoked to talk about it. I think it's going to motivate me even more to do more and keep up what I'm doing.
For sure. And hey, it's about the drive. It's about now you've got somebody that you got to keep accountable with. And I think it's going to be great. I'm looking forward to it, dude. You're on the right path. You're doing the right thing and good things are going to happen, man.
I sure hope so. I'm excited. I'm anxious. I know, just walking into the gym, sometimes I can drive there and just the walk into the building is hard enough to do, but you're there. It's stupid not to do something, or at least I feel stupid if I were to walk in and walk out, but sometimes just the motivation to get there is hard. And I hope this will help.
Are you guys going to book guests on that show?
I don't know yet.
I got one you need to go get.
Okay.
Fit Finley.
Is he related to David?
I'll have to look that up.
Yeah. I mean, he's got fit in his name, so he'd be worth trying to get on. But I don't know.
Just saying. Just trying to help you out, man.
Is he under contract still? Is he still an agent with the big dogs? Because I don't know if we can get past that blockade.
We'll have to see.
Stay tuned.
I would, and if you're not accountable, he gets to whack you with a shillelagh.
Oh God. Oh yeah. Okay. Fair enough. Look for shillelagh whacking by Fit Finley coming in the coming weeks, right here on the For Frequency Sake Podcast Network. That is going to put a bow on this episode of Card Subject to Change. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you for being a part of our family. For my tag team partner, Never Wrong, Nick Bull, I am the Wizard CZ. We are Card Subject to Change, the podcast by the fans, for the fans, presented by the For Frequency Sake Podcast Network. We'll see you midweek for the kickout, and then we're back on Monday next week to accommodate our guests. So stay tuned to socials on exactly when and where. Until then, have a good rest of your week.
This has been a For Frequency Sake Podcast Network production. For more great content, subscribe to For Frequency Sake on YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter.